Hey guys, in this newest edition of the Lowcountry Porchcast, I'm hanging out with my good buddy Ben Ham, who is really like, you are sort of the Lowcountry's Ansel Adams, man. Like this amazing nature photographer. Hopefully there's half of you that have heard about him and admire him. There's half of you that have never heard of him, and you're going to get to know him today because you're an amazing person and you got an amazing skill. And we just thought, it'd be great to talk to you about kind of behind the camera. We'll talk about this guy in a second too, but just kind of behind the camera, what inspires you to capture the essence of this beautiful Lowcountry and then to deliver it in these still images around the world, right? Yeah. So what's the inkling for that? Like what's at the core of those images for you that makes you want to capture what you're seeing and deliver it to other people?
Well, for me, it's all about exploration. I just love to get out in nature. I want to be outside. And this is such a nice way to translate that to people and take people along with me. I always say I'm trying to create a window that you can step into, something through your mind's eye that transports you to that place. So that's what I'm doing. And it's been kind of an interesting journey. I never thought that this was something that I would ever do professionally. You can't make a living selling black and white photographs. And it's just kind of a crazy thing to, now I think about, I literally have work almost all over the world. And it's just been amazing.
Pause there for a second. So you have pieces all over the world, installations you've done. Yes. And isn't that part of your gig too? Like where you have the opportunity, you like to install the piece for the buyer in their home or their office or wherever they're placing this?
I do, and it although that's transitioning a little bit, the demand is great.
How many hours do you have?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I have some good staff that helps me with that.
Well, let's be clear. Yeah. Highest and best use for you behind this guy, right? I get that. But I kind of always thought that was neat, and those were in the earlier years where you took such pride in sort of really sort of framing, positioning that window, if you will, in somebody's home so that it's really ideal to their setting and for the perspective that you chose for what you captured.
Oh, right? Great way to put it. The other thing too for me is the connection. I love to make those connections with people.
Yeah.
So, when I go into somebody's house and I get to hang it on the wall, suddenly a little friendship develops, and the next thing you know, oh, come and join us for dinner, or let's do this. And, bottle of wine. And sometimes one of the other great things that's occurred from that is that people will say, oh, we have a house here, or we have a house there. Yeah. Why don't you come and visit us? And I always say, be careful. Yeah. Be careful, because I do that sort of thing. And it's been great to develop these friendships all over the place.
But when I was looking at your bio on your great website, by the way, which folks should definitely check out, because it was, in some ways, it's what you'd expect. Like, okay, well, this has been kind of where you started and all that kind of stuff, which is fantastic. But then also you get super technical. You talk about the piece of equipment and how heavy it is and what you put it with, et cetera. But I think that in that bio, you were talking about some pretty significant installations. Was it a military or government installation? And where is that?
That's at the Dover Air Force Base, and it's that facility for the families of the fallen soldiers. Oh, okay. The people who've given the ultimate sacrifice, and that was just a great honor for me. It came about. I actually did two installations there. Came about probably around 2012, maybe. I got a call, and it was a design group out of Baltimore. And she started telling me about what they were doing, and she said, and I thought, you don't know my work, do you? And she says, no, I've never seen it. I said, well, how did you find me? Right. And she said, well, my mom lives on Hilton Head, and she told me I should check you out. And I said, well, let me send you a piece, and let's talk about it. And so I did, and they opened it up in the conference room, and they called me on the phone and said, okay, we get it. Now, this is what we would like to do. And what they did, that facility prior to that point was very cold. Linoleum floors, folding metal tables and chairs, and
very military kind of. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But these are people. Suddenly, just that shock of you've lost a loved one, and within 24 hours, their remains will be at Dover, and you will be here to greet them. Mm-hmm. And so, what they did is they created this amazing facility just to really comfort the family, and it's stunningly pretty. So it was really kind of special in that it came about pretty quickly. As everything happens with the government, there was a time lapse. And then suddenly you get the phone call and say, oh, yeah, this is what we want. And we need it in 3 weeks.
Right. It's like, wait and hurry up.
Yeah, exactly. And so I said, well, I'm going to have to bring it to you. Yeah. And I took my dad with me. And my dad was in his 80s at the time. And he'd been in the Coast Guard. So it was a big thing for him to be there. Yeah. And so we get there and the base commander comes and we have all these images out. And he picked out this great collection. And, we installed them. And then maybe a year or so later, they called me and they said, we're doing another one and we'd like to, they're on Dover as well. And we'd like to have another collection. And so I said, well, sure. And we talked about it. And the last thing he said was, is your dad still with you? And I said, yes, he is. And they said, would he come? And I said, sure. And I said, what's the date? And they said, how about February the 10th? Well, that's my dad's birthday.
Oh, wow. And so they didn't know that.
Well, I told them that.
Okay.
And didn't say anything to my dad. And so we go inside and all these folks from the base come and they sing happy birthday to my dad. He cried like a baby. It was such a great thing. But it was an amazing honor. And, I had this collection really from around the country. So what they wanted to do was create vignettes so that people from certain areas of the country could feel comforted, for having a little connection back home.
Yeah. Well, and come back to your comment about, a nature window into nature, which is that's your subject, right? You don't do wildlife. You deal with animals sometimes around you when you're shooting. Sure. We'll talk about that. Yeah. But you're shooting these beautiful images. And is it all anchored to the Lowcountry, or are you shooting anywhere else?
No, I shoot. I've shot in Colorado. Shot in the Southwest. Okay. The Pacific Coast. A lot of wine stuff out on the West Coast, and been shooting in Italy and France for the last maybe 10 or 12 years. Okay. Which has been a lot of fun. But this year has been a real creative year for me, and it's been a long time coming. I've been so busy that it's hard to get out and photograph, right. and so I just sort of decided this is what I'm going to do this year. And I've really been in a super creative phase.
What's that look like? Like, what have you been up to?
It's all here.
Okay. That's all right here.
All right here. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was in Italy in May, and I shot some things in Italy there, but this whole collection that I'll release in October is all here in the Golden Isles. I've been working a little bit down on the islands down in Georgia and Cumberland, which has been a lot of fun. So I'm really excited about that body of work. It's going to be...
Well, there's that passion bubbling up, right? Like, because you've been work in the business, on the business, and for you, in the business is behind this guy. On the business is that you've turned this into a really nice business. You got a gallery right here in Old Town Bluffton. You got a gallery in Charleston.
Main Street.
Yeah. Anywhere else, or is that's got to be enough?
Yeah. I'd always dreamed of having 6 or 7, but I have no time now to even do it.
What's the crossover interest? If you're shooting in those different areas, that's different subject matter. Is there crossover interest in terms of people here are interested in what you're shooting in Italy, or do you find a lot of people are like, hey, you know what? We moved here to the Lowcountry for its natural beauty. We love how you captured it. That's what we want, like that. Yeah. So I'm just curious, like, what's your experience? Is there a lot of crossover? People pretty much stick to their own region?
There is some crossover. I mean, obviously we sell more Lowcountry stuff because I'm here. Right. But it is funny how people will pop up and buy something from the Southwest because they have a connection there, or they're from there, or they spent time there. Same with Colorado. And then I have people that I have Lowcountry stuff that's in Japan and Australia and across the Americas, both South and Central America and into Europe. And so it's just fascinating to me what people gravitate toward. Yeah.
Word of mouth makes that happen. A little bit of internet presence, social media presence. Like
that's a great.
What kind of ties all that together? I mean, how do you get someone so far away finding your pieces?
That's a great question. I've often wondered that myself.
Sounds like a marketing question.
Yeah.
Maybe this will help.
Could be.
That's not the goal, but maybe it will. Yeah. But
well, it's funny. I said earlier that I never imagined that this was something that I would do. And early on, I was really fortunate. I got a lot of free press, just to be honest with you, which was a big deal. Some international magazine articles, and then HETV did a thing on me, which was pretty amazing. And the Mondavis hosted me in a one-man show.
Back to the wine theme, right?
Back to the wine theme, yeah. So it's been a lot of fun, but a lot of it is just that connection. It is so funny how pieces bought here have taken me to other places.
Yeah.
My Napa connection happened that way. Somebody bought a piece here, invited me to come to Napa. And then from the Napa pieces, somebody here bought a piece and invited me to go to Italy, and it's just interesting how those little connections.
When you do those trips, and I know we talked about Italy because you spent a good amount of time there from what you've shared with me. But when you go on those trips, like you go out to Napa, are you going out there also to maybe shoot, just take a couple extra days and just kind of see what you see, or maybe to scout out and see if there's some things that you want to shoot when you're on a trip or any other trip like that?
Trips for me are always about shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're never going to miss that opportunity while you're there to capture what you see and see what it turns into.
And it's so funny that when I mentioned the people here that bought the piece who are from Napa, when they invited me to come, and I said to them, I said, be careful, I do this sort of thing. And they said, oh, you can come as often as you like and you stay as long as you want. And in my first trip with them, I stayed with them 3 or 4 different times, and they've stayed here with me. I stayed with them a month. And shot in Napa and just had a great time. They have this funky little guest house in their barn, and it was just a lot of fun to be there.
That's awesome. So again, be careful what they offer, right? Because you're probably going to take them up on it. But the whole nature theme, I was reading in your bio, and I didn't know, I've been friends for a long time. You're a client of ours and a good friend and neighbor, but I didn't realize back in those early formative years with your family, your travel out west, that kind of triggered appreciation for nature, and you seem to live that lifestyle too. But what is it about the Lowcountry that, is this among the most dynamic scenery that you can get, or am I just making that up?
No, I think about that all the time. When I first started shooting here, people have always, I shouldn't say people haven't photographed, but for me, getting out and exploring the marshes, that's something I've done since I was a teenager. Yeah. And I just love being out there in it. Even to this day, decades later, to be out in this beauty that's out here. Yeah. A lot of times I'll just stop and look around, and if I don't get a shot, that's okay too. I'm just out there in it. That's what people say about fishing and things like that.
But in it, so that's on foot, on a boat.
Yes.
In your waders, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you got to get where you can get, and the goal has got to be, to some extent, although I'm certainly overstepping my bounds, is to get a unique perspective. Get to something that maybe I'm not going to capture just by going by with my iPhone. I can take a great photo of nature, but what you're capturing is you're studying that angle. You found a subject, maybe a particular tree that you're interested in. You got to make a few visits back, figure out what that lighting's going to look like. Definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of scouting that goes into it. I'll get out and just explore and look for things, and then start thinking about, okay, what light? What is the best light for this? And what's the mood I'm trying to create? Soft light, fog, those kind of things. High tide, sometimes low tide. It just sort of depends on all that.
Black and white?
All black and white.
And a little sepia treatment on it, a little bit, but no full color that you're doing.
Yeah.
Not that could this guy do full color?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk about this guy. Is he your tried and true? Everything you're shooting is with the camera like this?
Almost everything in my collection was done with this camera. Mm-hmm. I do have a couple other cameras that I work with a little bit, and always experimenting with new stuff. But this is the foundation. You mentioned Ansel Adams. For me, as a kid, I discovered photography when I was about 14, and shortly thereafter became aware of Ansel Adams' work. And so that kind of gave me a twofold interest. One was getting out and exploring nature, seeing the things that he was doing, wanted to see, and, just being outside. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the pursuit of photography. And then I wanted to work in this big format because my stuff's big, and I wanted that detail. Yeah. When you step up to it to be able to study that, again, I mentioned that window, feel like you can just step right into that scene.
Well, some of those prints are quite big.
They are.
What's the largest that you've?
The biggest we do is 107 across and basically 60 inches tall.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's big. It's big.
Yeah. With a nice hardy big mat and frame and beautiful composition and all that.
It's quite a workout to put one of those together.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. And you do all that yourself. You put all that frame. Are you hands-on on that too, or is that part of your staff?
Everything. I do all the production.
You do?
Yeah. And that's what keeps me so busy, keeps me tied up, and keeps me from shooting. And that's why this year's been, it's been a lot of fun, but, it's a lot of work too. to keep up with all that production stuff and still being able.
Well, I see that smile on your face because I mean, just a month away, you've got this reveal, this launch, and this material that, if you will, that no one's ever seen before.
Well, let's see. Yeah. Even my staff hasn't seen them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've really been trying to keep a lot of this secret. Yeah.
So for some of them, it may truly be a reveal that
it will be
that evening that you first launched that.
And it's so funny how we're gonna, everybody was like, "Oh, you've got to show us, and we've got to start telling people." I said, "No. What we'll do is that the website will go live in the middle of the afternoon. You won't be able to see it until then.
Okay.
And then you'll see it. And from that point forward. So I want no one to see it. I'm real excited.
Yeah. Well, I didn't expect for us to be announcing something new for you here, and that's really exciting for everybody that's watching, and we'll stay tuned on that for sure. I was thinking too about, not just you were born in Georgia, but you've lived here in South Carolina for most of your life. Yeah. And so you're a true local. I know you live just up the river too, in a beautiful setting. And yet, I feel like not just you creating these windows of opportunities for people to appreciate this natural beauty, and to purchase it from you, make a business out of it. But you do a lot of donations too. You'll donate pieces for auctions and for, I think, like Bluffton Self-Help and other organizations where that's a prize piece. I remember the first event that we started going to for Bluffton Self-Help, and one of the live auction pieces was a Ben Ham piece. I was like, oh my God, how they get a Ben Ham piece? Like it's a big deal. I mean, I'm not trying to make a big deal out of you, but it's a big deal. Like they're beautiful pieces.
Well, thank you. The thing about it, Chip, is that I'm so fortunate to be able to do what I do and to be able to live someplace like this. I mean, it's just incredible. Yeah. And so it's important to give back. Mm-hmm. And that's really what got me started. I had friends who were trying to encourage me to do something with my photography, and I thought they were just crazy. For me, it's like, you can't make a living selling black and white photographs. Come on. And so I donated a piece into Evening of the Arts. I don't know if you remember the Evening of the Arts. It was on Hilton Head. Started by the old group of Joe Bowler and all those guys. It was a big deal. And I had gotten in at the last minute. A friend had asked them if I could participate, and so they said, "Yeah, I'm sure." And I donated a piece, and they my Sheldon Church piece, Old Sheldon Church, and they put me on a table in the corner, kind of in the back, in the silent auction. I thought, well, that's okay. So I get in there that night, and I walk by, and I just look over and said, a couple of people bid on it, so I'm not going to be embarrassed. I don't have to take it home tonight. Somebody will buy it.
But this is in line with like the dinner, gift cards and the gift basket and a Ben Ham piece and then, a tool set, etc. Like you're in that kind of mix, right? And then, so what happened?
It was so funny because, after the live auction, which was just unbelievable, amazing and heady stuff, I came back by and I wanted to check on it. And I came around the corner and there was a crowd around my piece. And my first thought was that somebody's knocked it off, the glass is broken, something like that has happened. And but what it was 3 people in a bidding war. And it was almost like musical chairs. One person would put the pencil down, the next one pick right. And these people, and this crowd was watching it. I was flabbergasted. It's like, this is unbelievable. They went through 6 sheets and then they called time and said, person won it. Yeah. And I knew going home that night, I'll never forget it. I was driving home at the top, opening the car, and going to, limbs of live oak trees and the moon and out. And I thought, I could probably do this.
Yeah.
And that's how it all started.
That's got to make you proud, right?
Absolutely.
Because obviously it's a beautiful piece. It's just sort of entree into that a little bit. And that's fantastic. And, by the way, I've noticed on those sorts of things, like, it's not a bad phone call to say, by the way, I know you didn't get that piece, but I have others that you can seem like you were interested in buying one. Yeah. We can make that happen too.
For a long time, I'd hear people who would come up to me and say, I've been trying to get one of your pieces. I keep bidding on them. I keep getting outbid. And it's like, well, I do sell them. You could buy. I'll keep bidding, which is a good thing. It's important to support. And there's a lot of great local charities.
Do you have I know you've got the live galleries, but online, do you have any just galleries? If people are just curious and they want to kind of just see, kind of cycle through, where would they find that? Just if they just kind of want to appreciate what you've been doing.
Well, you can Google Ben Ham. I'm the first guy that pops up. There's some other Ben Hams, but I'm kind of at the top of the list. But the complete collection is online, except for the new stuff.
Okay.
And a few things here and there that I'll always get a call from somebody in the gallery. It's like, somebody's interested in said piece, but you don't have it online. It's like, no, it has to be online. Yeah. It's like, well, no, actually it isn't. Give me a few minutes and I'll get it up.
Okay.
But,
So somebody could check all that out on there too. And certainly here in Bluffton, up in Charleston, they can check those things out. And I bet you get that too. People, because that's window shopping. You're in retail space. I mean, people can walk in and just kind of peruse, just like it's an art gallery, whether or not they're really buyers or not, they might just want to come in and just admire that and appreciate what you've done. The lighting is so beautiful in there. Yeah, I bet you do.
It's fun when people can come in and they take a little journey. The story's connected with all of my pieces.
Yeah.
And my first book, which is out of print now, I'm working on the second one, be out maybe next year. But people have read the story and suddenly they've created their own portion of the story. Yeah. So it keeps going, it's like, we have this in our house and our grandkids, this and this and this, which is such a fun thing. So it's interesting when I'm there and people will come in and I hear them start telling their friends the story behind the piece. Like, oh, that's great. I love that.
But are these pieces is it one-off, one numbered at a certain series?
I do a one-off, but they're rare.
Okay.
But these are all limited editions. They're signed and numbered. And when it's done, it's done. We have cleared out a few of them and a couple are getting close, it kind of, so like, wow, I hate that I'm not going to print this anymore,
Yeah, but that builds appreciation for what people have, right, and how they thought into that. And your book, I know that went well, and now that's done. So next year you're working on is that like a coffee book kind of format? Okay.
The last book was the 4 regions in this country that I've shot, and I had thought about this next one might be maybe Old World.
Oh.
But I've changed my mind. And I changed my mind a couple of years ago, and it's all about here.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's just, I don't know the title of it yet. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But, it's all just Lowcountry word because it's such a special place.
Well, that's really why aside from us just being buds and just wanting to chat about it, but that's why I really want to have you on this Porchcast just because I admire how you do appreciate and capture this beautiful place that we get to call home. A lot of viewers could call home. A lot of people want to call home.
A lot of people want to call it home.
And, nothing like a book like that to be able to have, a deeper opportunity just to kind of admire it in their quiet time on a Sunday and just really kind of soak it in that they're not going to buy a piece.
It's so funny. I have had the pleasure of being here many times for different things at your house, and you've got such a great spot here, and we're out looking over the May River, and I think about often how special the Lowcountry is and how unique it is. It's kind of a unique little area in this part of the world, and I don't think it really exists anywhere else. You come south of Charleston and you start to get all those island hammocks, and it goes down through the Golden Isles, and then you hit Florida, and it's done. It changes. Yeah.
Well, I've had a lot of people that have travel all around, and they say still, that whole saying, there's no place like home, but there's just something about, driving back into the Lowcountry, going over that bridge, and you're like, oh my gosh, the
smell of pluff mud.
The smell of pluff mud and all, but you will appreciate, right, all the nature around it, and it's a special place. You make it a special place, and I appreciate how you capture it, and I appreciate how you're spreading the word about it, and I one of these days I want to sneak up on you while you've got that drape over your head or whatever that looks like, and you're doing a long exposure into something amazing. It'd just be fun to watch you in your work.
I don't know if it's as much to see as it sounds like, but it's so funny you mentioned that cloth over your head and sneak up on you. I do worry about that every once in a while.
Well, some of these exposures are long, right? Is that right? Like what's long? How long might
My longest so far has been 18 minutes. Yeah, which was in a cellar in Italy.
Okay.
In Montepulciano.
With basically no light down there, right? You're waiting for it to come in and get absorbed. But
it's common. I have a pretty famous piece called 8 Foot Tide that is really all but gone. There's really 2 left. Maybe just 1, because I'm thinking about keeping 1 for myself. Because I don't own one, and I would love to have it. But in that particular piece, I had waded out into water this deep, and things were feeding on me. And it was a 30-second exposure. So the whole time you make sure that there's no ripple in the water. You have to stand still, holding the shutter open while everything's feeding all on you. And it's,
oh man. And this guy's got to stay perfectly still. And
so you got to suffer for the art sometimes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Passion. Wow.
Yeah.
It's your passion. I appreciate it. I appreciate you having a chance to chat with us today and share with these folks about what you're up to. And we're gonna be watching, man. I mean, you're a young man. You got a lot to do. You got a lot to do left, and it's interesting, especially in a position that you weren't even really sure you would ever do this, and then you weren't even sure it would turn into a viable vocation for you. So who knows what lies ahead for Dan Ham?
That's true.
Y'all stay tuned, and thanks for joining us today. We'll talk to y'all again soon.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.